afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Mad Realms Talking Skritt. I'm your host, Jim, this week. We've got a whole bunch of stuff. Whisper in the Dark released. We have some updates on some build template feedback, and some words about possible hiatus for raids and fractals. But first, my fellow hosts... Let's see here. I have to go through Deo's intros here. He took the time to write these. He streams over on Twitch where he answers the age-old question, if a whisper tells him, will he finally delete Thief? Say hello to Age.
Hell no. Get out of here.
Okay. So clearly the reverse psychology doesn't work here. She writes for MMORPG.com. She's an editor on Virtually Interrupted, and also her own site, MMORly.com. That rumbling noise, is it an avalanche or maybe a roar in the back of our minds? Say hello to Arlie.
Hey.
Quietest roar I think we've ever had from you.
It's in your back
Moves
of
in
your
our
mind.
minds. Yeah.
And he tries to stream on Twitch, but something always gets in his way. What does Jormag and Deo have in common? I think they're missing a tooth. Say hello to Deo.
Yep. Right in
Oh,
the back.
wow.
Can't see it.
Wow, that works really well.
I was a
That
little
was a
proud when I
good
thought of that
one.
earlier today. I was like,
Yeah.
yes.
I didn't want I saw it and I didn't want to comment on it during pre-show because I felt like that would have been
Yeah, that was awesome.
that would have been giving it away. So
And we both love Holbrecht. I mean, maybe I'm Jormag. I'm just saying. Ain't it?
Do
Call me.
Do you hate women? Because apparently...
Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Yeah.
What?
This is getting awkward.
I missed something. Holy shit.
well, I mean, the
Because
Sons of Svanir.
Sons of Svanir
are all
Oh,
women.
I mean,
right.
I
okay.
don't think Jormag really cares who he corrupts, but
No.
anyway, so let's start off with the spoiler-free section for Whisper in the Dark. We've got the patch notes. I'll go ahead and throw that link in chat, and while I grab that, what do you guys think?
Just like overall, I only got to play the story today. I did a bit of running around. I think the story was okay. It's definitely a setup episode. I'll talk about it later, but
Just okay.
yeah, just
Yeah,
okay.
I was going to say, I'll fight you on that, but I can't hear.
Yeah, for me, it was like a setup episode. I'm like, yeah, it has a lot of things that have me curious about certain things based on what we know and from the past encounters and now. But yeah, we'll get into that later. I think new map. I think the interesting thing about that new map is that you definitely need that mastery for Blizzard time because it is rough without
Yeah.
that mastery.
I didn't have a problem.
I'm a thief.
I mean, I had to be mindful of the little HUD, like when I hit 10 ticks, depending on how far away I was. I mean, for people who don't know, I guess it revolves around the defense meta event on the map,
Yeah.
where basically, and it kind of hints at it through the story of like, oh, it's been pummeled by an ice storm this whole time. And that's kind of the mechanic. That's been controlled by, Jormag, it seems like. But you're just pummeled by basically, well, there's a pre-event kind of a thing where you can set up the defenses like bonfires, arrow carts, and then when the rush comes in, I think it's like 10 minutes, and you basically have to defend the three Raven shrines. And the like you're saying, the tier 2 mastery, which basically lets you summon like a little bubble that protects you.
Yes.
I mean, it is reliant on, I guess, other people having it as well, or does it automatically just switch around? That's the one thing I didn't notice.
You can use, if other people trigger it, you can use it.
Well, that
Okay,
and
but
the,
it is reliant on that because I
three
wasn't sure if it was
Because-
reliant on someone or just randomly moved around.
I'm not necessarily talking about the meta. I'm talking about, while I was doing the story, I had to go beyond the meta where, people aren't. And to do the story, and it was rough because I read for the mastery, you had to, for the Blizzard, you had to either have the buff from Raven, be near a bonfire, or in a building or something like that type of
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
So I was walking towards the next camp, and I'm like, oh, there's a bonfire. I'll just stand there and I'll lose my stacks. I didn't lose my stacks. And I had to fight like 15 spawn air and then like a mini boss. And like, this hurts a lot.
Did you stand in the bonfire?
I did stand in the bonfire. It made it worse.
It made it worse?
It did make it worse because it actually burned me, and I was getting frostbitten.
Wait, you're not supposed to stand in the bonfire. You're supposed to stand next to the
I
bonfire.
stood next to it. It didn't do anything, so I thought, oh, maybe I have to stand in it for like a second to get rid of it.
Hat is saying that the bonfires aren't currently working.
Okay,
Oh,
that's what I figured. So
and I kind of feel like they work sometimes because I have watched my stacks tick down, and that's the thing. It's like the Raven Shrines instantly removes all frostbite stacks.
Yes.
Bonfires tick them down, and that's about it.
That's exactly what I thought it would do.
So,
but it didn't.
Yeah. So if the bonfires aren't working at the moment, or they're kind of squirrely, because I do remember seeing my stacks tick down, but it wasn't very consistent with where I was standing.
Okay.
Because I was standing like right next to the bonfire without taking damage from it, because I don't stand in the fire.
It was a test, and it didn't work.
But
that's awesome.
Well, yes, you are supposed to use the Raven Shrines to remove chill, Mithrin, but it says that standing next to a bonfire will also remove it.
Right. Like if you're not
we
near
were
one,
discussing.
you're like, oh shit, my stacks are high, you know.
Yeah.
But,
we were discussing if it was absolutely necessary because, like I said, I did the meta before I had the tier 2, which I did have to rely on other people activating it, and sometimes I actually had to run all the way back to the base. I mean,
honestly, so all in all, like just to move this, the map feels like I think like the map meta, like if the blizzard affects the whole map, just constantly stacking frostbite, I think they're actually just they designed it so that they can try and force people to do the meta. And if you can not do it, if you have that tier 2 mastery to activate the Raven Shrines,
I mean,
but like honestly, you'd probably be better off just going to the meta, getting the rewards from the meta,
right?
Dealing with it.
No, it's like the mastery isn't hard to get. It's like as you progress through the story, you just like need like a little bit more experience to get the Raven mastery if you legit just do the story.
And you don't need that many mastery points to get each one either, so I didn't feel like restricted in that regard either.
Yeah,
which is nice. Actually.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, I wanted to do story for the show because I had to go to work today, so like I didn't have time on all this week, and I got home late last night, so it's like I wanted to direct all the time to see if I could do it. I thought it would take me like 3 hours, but it actually took me under 2, which is very interesting as well. But yeah, new map is pretty cool. I like it's very different from the one from season 4 with the fight with Aurene type of deal with versus Gargantoric the first time. I just felt it was very different. Maybe it was due to the forest and the caverns.
I would say it just felt like a snowy wilderness, which I don't know. I enjoyed more. It wasn't like an established place.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't. This could be 100% just my perception as well, but I feel like this map feels less grindy than a lot of the other ones to like get the things done. It feels like it's easier to progress than a lot of the past maps that we've gotten, where it's just like, oh, I gotta spend so much time here.
Well, there are one thing that's missing. There are no hearts.
True.
There's still the weapons.
Keep it up, ain't it? Keep it up.
Right, but the way the weapons and getting them in the first place and then upgrading them is set up a little bit different than when they've done it previous. Previously, I haven't even worked on those because I looked at everything I had to do to upgrade the armor and the other weapons they've done, and I've just been like,
Well,
This time it feels like I was saying, it could just be perception. It could be just as grindy, but for me, looking at what I need to do, it's less like, oh my god, and more like, okay, that's doable, you know?
well,
It
it's
was
to go to Mr. Ed's point. I don't necessarily want easy.
Mm-hmm.
I think Arlie's point is this is easier than previous. It's not like there's no effort involved because you still have to go out and get the map currency,
Right.
which means you either have to do events or go out and farm it from the resource collection nodes. But it's not like, you know, it's not like it takes forever.
Right. Like, I come at it from the perspective of somebody who I have very little free time as is, and like when I get to spend time in games having fun, like I like to be able to make progress on stuff. And a lot of times for me, because I know what limited amount of time I have to play, some of the other ones were like, why am I even going to bother starting on that? It's going to take me forever. Whereas this, I'm like, I can do a little bit here and there and make progress. It'll take time, but it doesn't feel gargantuan
Yeah.
to me.
And I would have liked to have seen like a kind of a balance, like how Mr. Red's saying and what we're saying is, I think the Raven Mastery thing should have been at where it was, easier to get, and then maybe the other ones would have been like took a little bit longer. You had to grind more towards it because that
Right.
one's more of you could still do damage to the enemies. It just made things easier if you had the right attunement thing, and then the second tier was what, a reward chest and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
Okay.
I could have seen that being the stuff to grind after. But for the story's sake, I think I like the pace, especially for how long it was. Like you said, by the time you did it, you had to do maybe the meta event, like kind of a couple events just to like for a half a level at most to get the experience. Whereas like, cause I know a lot of people were complaining that this feels short and they were comparing it to the prologue. I dislike the prologue because literally the first step after you do like the first mission, you angered the Char. Go make sure that they see you as equals. Go randomly do events. I'm like, oh,
Right.
this is as bad as go to every heart and do something. And then
Yeah.
in this
I felt
one,
like
yeah,
everything felt more cohesive in this
Yeah.
one.
I feel speaking towards the length of the actual like story, I feel like this episode respected the player's time. There was no grinding. You had to go to, I think the only go do stuff in the open world was you had to go to all of the Svanir camps to find the prisoners.
Yeah.
And that
and
was
there was one other one where you're wandering around a bit.
my bad.
but
That might have been a little too much.
It's all right. There is one other where you're wandering around a bit, and that's where you get to see some of the zone. But
Yeah.
that was it. Both those sections were pretty.
Straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I did story under 2 hours, so it wasn't that
and I
bad.
was slightly worried going back to that one section where you're dealing with a certain event where you basically have to take control of an area, and then
Oh.
I all of a sudden because I think you do that basically 3 times around the map for story wise, without getting into why, but I got to one section and all of a sudden I got to the tail end and I'm like, well, it didn't tick over, didn't give me credit, and I saw them walking away and I'm like, oh no, they're on a cycle. Like they'll go to like the 3 different camps or something. Like there's no real downtime except for them walking there.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, thank God, because I thought it was gonna be like, I saw them literally running out of the thing after I was captured. I'm like, is this a weird like reset? Like
Yeah.
I was ready to be like, this is something I'm gonna bring up on the show because I'm like, it no longer feels like a living world if they're like, okay, let's walk out of here so they can all come back in. But no, it was
Right.
more of let's go into another area to take over.
Mhm.
So
Now,
I was like, oh, okay, good.
the other question is, have any of you done the strike missions yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so that might be a Talking Skritt extra where we all jump into the strike mission.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh.
That'd be cool.
Ow. Now, rewards, and I just realized I didn't redo the cameras for the next panel, so I'm going to do
Yay!
that while y'all talk about the rewards. There's a new weapon set. I'm going to hop over there. Where the heck did I? $4 unique. Where can I go? Yeah, it's all wonky. The ancient
That's
boreal
awesome.
weapons.
Yay.
Y'all talk about that while I fix the cameras.
I actually I really like the base skins for the weapons. They're kind of cool. Like they look
Rustic.
like old weapons, you
Yeah.
know? Like
They look like the artifacts that you might be finding up there.
Mhm.
Ah,
Yep. It's awesome. I like that getting the base level one of them is pretty easy. Like you don't have to do a whole lot and then you do more to get the upgraded versions. Which
It's-
is awesome.
And that's kind of what they said last week, was that was one of the things you'd be able to easily get the first tier. But
Yeah.
Chad's saying it's a nice set, but it's disappointing that the tier 2 is just a color swap. Does it just add like the little whatchamacallit,
it
the
polishes them effectively.
yeah.
Yeah, it just makes them look newer, basically.
Hmm.
I'm entertained watching
Me
do
frantically
this.
handle the camera. Yeah.
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 I mean, yeah, I like them too. I kind of want to see I don't see any of the colored ones, I guess, that people are talking about, but it'd be nice if they had like a nice glow, or maybe they'll add like a glow on like a tier 3 in the next episode or something, you know?
I mean, because I know with the next one they're adding new mastery lines, so adding another tier to upgrading these weapons, I don't know if they're going to do it, but it's definitely a possibility. I would think it's like along the same lines, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that, to be honest.
Yeah, because honestly, constant progression I think would be good. But the thing is, if you make the tier 2 weapons and you throw them away, and then they tell you, "Oh, there's tier 3," that would kind of piss people off, I guess. But
Yeah.
It's a cool way to offer progression for the same stuff that you're doing. So it's like a constant progression wheel of the maps, of the weapons, of anything like masteries too. They can add more tiers to the essence manipulation type. There's a lot of avenues they can go with it. I don't think they'll do it for the weapons, but I think the map definitely they're doing, and the essence manipulation, I see the
Right.
potential for it.
Which I mean, I really really like that they're not just giving us a new map every episode again, because like we've talked about a lot of times, one, that got old, and two, it just left us with a ton of maps that very few people spent time in after their initial thing was over.
But yeah, I don't know. I've been saying that since Ember Bay, but
wasn't that the first one that we got?
second map?
Okay.
It's I hope they don't do this, but yeah.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I'm glad they're actually doing it now, and we'll see how many maps they add in general. I think at this point, Grothmore Valley will just extend more, and that'll be the main setting for Jormag fights in and of itself.
Yeah.
Maybe one more map up north, and then extending Grothmore Valley for other stuff, char related activity, I guess.
Do you think they're gonna extend Grothmar as well? I don't know. It felt pretty full. It felt like a pretty fleshed out one. But
I could see it being used as a staging ground for things. And
yeah,
stuff.
I could see us going back there during the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they. See, this is the interesting part. So you know how they give out episodes for free, and then when the new episode comes out, it goes to that one. So I'm interested to see how they're going to extend the new maps in that regard, because if you don't have
I'm guessing you'd have access to the map. It's just not the
Well,
previous story.
Mithrin just talked about there's doors that you can find in the map, big, tall, massive stone doors. So I figure if they have the proper phasing tech, they can just say, you know, this door is shut for somebody who doesn't have the next section of the map.
Yeah, that works.
Speaking of the second set of unique skins, I may as well grab the restored versions.
Hey.
And literally,
But also,
I mentioned it's.
oh god,
Well, I was like I mentioned before, it's like the restored restored boreal skins. It literally just looks like somebody polished them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I mean makes sense. Like
And
it would
they're
be
restored.
weird if they were like, you know, largely different than the ones.
I really like
we
the
found.
hammer personally.
And then they add the shiny.
Yeah.
So tier 3 would be like sharpening the edges for like.
Right. Maybe
and
like
then-
we could do a tier 3 where we imbue them with magic or something, and then they get flashier.
I could see them having some kind of like spirit glow, like the raven
I
spirit.
could see like the blue parts being glowy
Yeah.
for sure.
But
well,
We're
I'll
not saying
say-
they're definitely doing a tier 3. We're just speculating if they did do one, maybe what they would do.
Yeah.
well, see the
Well,
thing is, oh, go ahead, Dale. Apologies.
well, as I say, I mean, it is what it says. I didn't think of it until I saw the comparisons, but it's like if you got a table from a, you know, a flea market, someone restores it. That they look like restored versions of the previous weapon. Where, oh, there's a little inlay, which, you know, like Chad's saying, like they think it looks worse. A lot of people think restoring a thing is like sacrilege. It's like, oh, I want the, you know,
You want the wear and tear. It gives it
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
so.
I don't care because there's a legendary tied to it at the end of Ice Fruit Saga, so I'm just gonna make it.
I also like, I mean, we all know like how much I love the Dreamer and flashy, crazy weapons and stuff, but I also kind of really like having more weapon options that aren't super like, woo, you know.
Well, if you want something flashier, there is actually 2 unique skins that can be retrieved for going through the whole collection of the ancient and restored boreal weapons. And for flashy, we've got the Raven's Eye Scepter skin. Which, like, that looks pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if
Yeah.
people were thinking that was what the restored ones would look like, because it does still have a hint of the previous, you know, the restored one or the boreal weapons,
Mm-hmm.
but it does have that flair that, like you saying, the extra pop.
I like the way the blue like almost ice shards come off of it.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I will gladly use that skin. Like, on my Guardian, I will swap. I was using the Scepter version of Calibulg, and I'll gladly swap to this skin because that looks pretty awesome.
You know, that would have been really cool if they made sets based on the spirits of the wild. That'd be actually.
It's an option that might happen down the road.
Well,
There's
also
there's
that's-
still story.
Yeah, I mean,
I
like the tier 1, tier 2 type. If they just made full sets of those, I
yeah.
think
Well-
people would like that a lot.
Hat also brings up the other. There's actually a second skin in this, so you've got the Dragon Render Helm.
Ooh, Dovahkiin,
I'm
Dovahkiin.
sorry. That just looks hilarious to me.
The ruff. I mean, it looks weird with no shoulder pieces.
Right. It probably looks fine with the right pieces of gear, but yeah, it looks like the character has a giant beard and then they just fluffed the hat over and it's like
I wonder how well this would work with the Houndskin mantle.
I feel like it would clip on the sides.
We're gonna get mange with both of those.
Yeah, I wonder.
I guess
about
if you
the
dye it,
horns.
You have to like dye it all the same color and
So it
darker.
blends in.
Yeah. But that's a cool helm. I like it.
Yeah. I
Yeah, I
dig
like
that.
it. The weird, interesting fur scarf thing there, but yeah, it's
It's to protect the neck from the cold.
But yeah, it's definitely cold weather armor kind of stuff.
Your head is in a metal container. Is that your problem right
Well,
about there?
the
Like,
metal might be lined with leather or something.
it
to
usually
make it
is
warmer.
padded.
if it's
so-
as thick as if it's as thick as the collar, your head's not fitting in it.
Well, if it's squishy enough, then it just keeps it on your head.
Hmm.
Which is a problem with horned helmets because people can kind of just yoink them off your head.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But honestly, for like unique stuff in the game, I really dig all of these skins. Like I think the ancient boreal weapons are 2 gold and 25 of the map currency.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
It's not.
Really?
Yeah, that's all the base weapons. It's 2 gold and 25 of the map currency.
They made it, like I said, really easy to get the
Wow.
base versions.
And then I think the recipes for the restored, it's like a Berserker's Orichalcum sigil and 10 Iotrite, however the hell
The new
pronounced.
currency.
Yeah,
okay.
the stuff you get out of the essence manipulation chests and from events and stuff.
Huh.
Yeah, the only gate on the T2 of the weapons is the unique metal bars that you get
Okay.
from playing the map. And it's like 10, so it's not
Yeah.
like you have to have some kind of exorbitant amount. Oh, and you just randomly get it, is what Mithrin said. It comes from all the Norn chests that you don't have to do anything special to unlock.
Okay.
And you also get Berserker inscriptions from a lot of the achievements and the collection rewards. So they're basically handing you, just for playing the map, a lot of the stuff to make the restored boreal weapons. Which I'm good. Like, I dig this. So, like, we'll go back to the main here, just for a quick question. Like, so, is this a good episode 1?
Yes.
I think so.
Like,
And-
this episode was mind-blowing to me in a lot of ways, which we'll get into later, but...
Yeah, I think it's a good episode.
Yeah, I mean, without getting into spoilers, I think it is definitely a setup episode because it is episode 1. I know people are comparing it to the prologue.
Oh,
But-
are we talking about story or just everything?
Just, like, overall.
Okay, overall, I think, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And I thank you, Mithrin, because I needed that laugh. If Reddit says no, then that means yes. I mean, I can't...
Is Reddit saying no? I don't pay
Well,
attention
I
to
mean,
Reddit
speaking
anymore.
of Reddit, there is a list of complaints.
Oh, gosh.
And we might
People-
not have gotten them all. Please let us know. Actually, don't
we
let us know.
missed
Don't
any
let
of
us
the
know.
issues.
They don't want to know. So before we talk about the individuals, we'll go over the list here. It feels short. The meta is a long defense mission, which is causing people to AFK. It's not expansion level content. There's also potential trolling in one of the strike missions. So let's
Which that
Let's
one
unpack.
might have
Start
gotten
with-
corrected. I don't know. But
Let's start with it's not expansion level content. In what way do they think that it's not expansion level content?
Well, I think it's when people are saying like expansion level content, they're expecting the same drop of content as if an expansion released.
That's
which
no.
they've never indicated. They've
Yeah,
that,
that's
like-
a stupid thing to expect, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah, honestly, if
not
you
how
think,
it works.
yeah, living story seasons are essentially mini expansions.
Right. When they said that with this season we'll get expansion level content, to me that meant like certain things that we would see normally in an expansion, like new mastery lines with their own mastery like points for
yeah.
them in the new areas, like that
Yeah.
weren't previous ones. That's expansion level stuff.
Yeah.
Some new way of moving around the maps or something, like that's an expansion level thing. Like I don't just expecting the giant drop just all at once when we're not actually doing an expansion seems weird to me.
Yeah, people just have a different perception, I think, just because of this game. This game is very different in terms of other subscription games. So when you think of like Final Fantasy 14, for example, they have expansions, and then everything else is as far as I know is either raids that come out or events. Arlie can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but WoW, I think it's pretty similar. I think they do have. Do they have Do they have like story content that comes every now and then, or what?
In the major patches, so like you get the first expansion will be like whatever point 0, and then you get your point 1 update, which has new story, and then your point 2 update, which have new story and stuff. But
Okay.
that's like a good 6-8 months between them, something like that, and you don't get any story in the meantime.
So those story drops are just purely story? Is there any?
No, it's usually there's also new raid with the new major patch,
and a new area, usually.
Yeah, usually a new zone,
Okay.
something like that.
And a whole lot more dailies to do.
Yeah.
Yay.
But also the new story is not usually that much. It's usually like there's new story in the zone, which will usually be content locked in some way. So like when they put out Nazjatar, you did a little bit of the story, and then you had to earn like 3,000 experience with one of your followers to continue on the story, but you could only earn 300 experience with the follower every day, so you were time gated on that. There's things like that that slow it down, but if you take out the time gates, it's like an hour's worth of extra story time, basically.
Yeah. So like and when I compare like Guild Wars 2 to like that's like content drops in MMOs, like even in Black Desert they have events, but it's like new content, which is good. But I think like Guild Wars 2 has a pretty good release cadence in terms of content. Not necessarily all the content that we desire, but they always put out story. I think they do need to work on like fractals and raids. We'll get into that later. But the in terms of PvE, open world PvE, in terms of story, I think they do a really good job. And I think that the features that they put in the masteries, legendaries, well, like last season, for example, the strike missions, which I thought we were just going to get an improvement, we got 2 new ones and an improvement on the first one. So it's like, I think these like I think you need to. People are looking at one episode where I feel like they should be looking at the whole Iceberg saga, and that did it deliver expansion level content as a whole? Because I think it will at this point, because typically we don't get strike missions like this. I don't know if we're going to get another one next episode, which would be kind of interesting. I think we'll get upgrades to those ones is something, because my thought going from prologue to this episode was that we're going to get an upgrade of the last one, but they added 2 new ones, which is pretty cool. I think maybe the next episode they add Drakkar or something, but
yeah.
And the masteries, I also think there are expansion level content in terms of what they do, and accumulatively masteries over seasons do have expansion level content. The mounts from last season are expansion level. Like, there is content there. I feel like it's just people are looking at it through one lens of one episode at a time.
Right. I think they get into some of the same trouble that WoW has gotten themselves into, where like with expansions, people expect a new class, new race, something like that. Whereas with Guild Wars 2, I think they've gotten themselves into a bit of a tangle where when people say expansion, they expect all of the things that we've gotten before, like a
all
new way of moving around, a new like whole bunch of giant tiers all the way of masteries all at once to work on, instead of getting them a little bit with each episode, which I feel like makes a much better sense, because they're not going through the content drought this time like we have previously, or
I wonder if it's due to people's playstyles. So typically with an MMO expansion, some people take some time off to play the expansion, do that type
Right.
of thing, or just dedicate the time for it for like a month or two, and play that content, and then
Mm-hmm.
either play something else afterwards or drop the sub, whatever.
Right.
But with
Well,
Guild Wars 2, you're always coming back to see new content every 2, 3, 4 months with
right.
stuff that comes out.
Well, like my perception with Guild Wars 2 is I feel like they've always prided themselves about being the MMO that you can easily jump in and out of without having a huge bar to catch
I
up to
agree.
your friends. So like I'm sure they love it when people make it their main game that they do all the time, but they aren't trying to develop content that forces you to be like, this is your job now playing this game.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is a good thing. Like,
so my question for you guys would be, like, in this era of gaming where people, spend more time on their phones than with their families and things like that, do you think expansions are better for an MMO these days, or small content, well, not small, like significant content releases every 3 months, 2-3 months, is a better way for an MMO to go?
I mean, personally, I am over the expansion model. Like, I'd rather just get smaller, more frequent updates.
Well, the whole baseline reason behind an expansion previously was because internet wasn't as good. Transmitting data for playing an MMO was easy because the actual transmission of data was very small. The strings sent back between client and server, very minimal. A lot of the computational work is done on your computer.
Because back in the day, the expansions actually came on a disc.
Yeah, the expansion came on a disc, and that was so that they could give you all of the files to put on your computer, so you didn't have to spend 3 days trying to download it.
Right.
Like, you could play World of Warcraft on a dial-up connection because they designed it to do that when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had to, because a chunk of their player base did it.
Also, expansions have historically served the purpose of being a big influx of money for the game too.
And I think I was actually going to bring that up with what Hat said, is expansions are a crutch. That giant influx in money is this huge spike, and then it trails off.
Right.
And the problem is it's kind of like with the dopamine rush of, like, you do a thing, and you get this huge spike of excitement, and then it falls off. And then the problem is the next huge spike has to be a bigger spike.
Yeah.
So this constant, like, I would say anywhere from 4 to 6 sizable content drops a year is probably a better model for an MMO going forward, because internet's better. Like, you can distribute content easier. Honestly, I kind of was confused when Guild Wars 2 released, because I thought Guild Wars 1's content streaming per area was better, as like a better model, because you didn't download files until you went to the area that needed to be patched. Which, granted, if you walked into a new area that you had never been to before, you kind of had to walk away.
Usually I hate that.
You had to walk away from your computer for an hour, but like...
Right.
And, well, see, that's another rant I have, Mofongo, in that there hasn't been an expansion in World of Warcraft since Wrath of the Lich King. Every single expansion has actually just been a new game named World of Warcraft subtitle.
Yeah.
Mostly because they relaunched the game effectively. You have to relearn how to play the damn thing.
And they scrap all of the systems they introduced in the previous one, regardless of how good they were. Yeah.
But honestly, I think Icebrood Saga will be an expansion, which, I mean, look at this. Wait. Okay.
By the end, not episode 2.
I mean, look, they gave us a new launcher, guys.
I know. Yeah,
that's
the
the
I
key.
Forgot.
I think.
And mastery points. I mean, that's next chapter level stuff.
To be fair, I think they started changing launchers with expansions and seasons now.
Did we get them in the seasons too?
Nope.
I thought it was the only expansion.
Nope, it was Balthazar for
purple.
the entirety of Puff.
Yeah.
We got a pink one for
All of POF was the Balthazar.
We didn't get one for season 4. I thought
Nope.
we got one.
I don't think so. I thought it was always Balthazar.
It was
But-
always
And Chad is bringing up that was one thing people brought up was there wasn't a new character select screen for it, which I would say give it time. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe that was an oversight, or honestly, I didn't think about it, and I know some people were like,
or
I usually just
possibly-
click through.
I was gonna say possibly like maybe what they want to do for the new character screen would at this point be a spoiler, so it'll come later.
Fair. Okay,
True.
Mr. Red is saying that it was a raptor first, and then Balthazar, which makes
I don't
sense because the
remember.
reveal of Balthazar was kind of a thing.
Oh right, yeah, because okay.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay.
But I don't know. Like I agree with Age that it will be seen as an expansion, and Mithrin also brought up previously that like literally the only thing that is expansion level in Guild Wars 2 right now is an elite spec drop,
Oh yeah.
and the
Something
game
we
isn't
haven't had.
ready for it
Right.
because they're still
Which is-
redesigning trait lines. So
Yeah, which is something we've talked about previously, and amongst ourselves have all agreed that it's a bad idea right
yeah,
now.
it's just not the greatest of it, because it's a huge upset to the game's balance, because
Mhm.
you effectively have to balance a whole new class. We're at 27 classes effectively.
Yeah.
Right.
Their balance right now needs to compensate for the ones they're going to put in next, if any.
Oh, and apparently the developers have said they are planning a major shakeup to the meta.
Ooh.
What if they kind of took a note from Guild Wars 1 and almost did like hero specs where maybe progress through the story, we unlock the specialization bear or some, if it was in relation to this stuff. But what if it was like basically a specialization that unlocked on every like class regardless? So instead of having to balance 9 different iterations, like I don't know, it just
if
popped
you're
in my head.
talking
as
about
I-
like a multi-class slot, like you have like a thief using Spirit of Bear or like Spirit
Yes,
of Raven.
or Raven, I guess. Let's say if it was Raven in this situation.
If that's basically like an extension, like a second class slot, but then you get to the problem of now you have, say we go Bear, Raven, Snow Leopard, Wolf. So you've got 4. That multiplies the number of classes by 4, because then you have to do all of the balancing versus all of the possible permutations of that.
Right.
Yes.
Which I
It'd be
think
cool,
is-
but
yeah, I think that's one of the reasons they said that they didn't said that they didn't want to do the multi-class because while it was good, it gave a lot of options, it made balancing impossible just because there were so many varieties of things that what players could do that it became a real issue trying to balance it.
But yeah, yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It's just like a heavy hit because especially since like it's some like a skill on bear, for example, is really good with warrior, so you have to like tone it down, but then it becomes
nigh useless for
somehow useless for someone else, or it's totally overpowered for someone else. Like it gets really crazy versus like
And
having
it would
a
be-
one-to-one relation.
And I guess now that I'm thinking of it, it would be weird because there would have to be some kind of weird advantage. Because if there was I guess, if it came down to Revenant, would they get a special hero, like, or, basically the bear spirit or I guess Raven spirit or something, which
Yeah.
then would be,
It's just-
not accessible. So yeah, I guess it would be a weird thing that.
It's just, yeah, it's like I really like it. I like the racial skills, man.
I
really
miss
do.
them too. Yeah. Well, it's and from what Mithrin is saying is like the only way to do a major shakeup to the meta is to change player options. So that means elite specs or a new player power system. Those are the only 2 things that we can really do to really change the meta seriously.
I honestly think a new weapons would do that.
That would be great. I would love to see, like I've been saying, spear. Give me spear for.
Which that might be something that would and I know for probably a lot of people not surpass elite specializations, but that's something we haven't even seen in expansions.
Yeah. I think like if you introduce 3 weapons and then you give 1 weapon to 3 professions each, sort it out, and then like people have something to play with.
Yeah. Well, this has all been under is not expansion level content on the complaint.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I know. Trying to get things back on track here. Since none of us have done anything potential trolling in the strike missions, apparently there's like something you can hit that keeps you in combat. So people are hot joining to the random group ones. They're hitting something that keeps them in combat, so it doesn't boot them, and then just standing there.
Oh,
Though someone, I did see someone say if that does happen, because it might just be on this particular strike mission. I don't know since we have fights, but people are saying you should be able to, as the leader, leave the strike mission, and then you should be able to kick them out regardless. I'm gonna go check on something.
You're not supposed to hit Hounds of Balthazar on cooldown, man.
Right.
Oh, they disabled hot join temporarily. Okay, that might be why.
Yeah.
I don't need to update that right now. Thank you.
Seemed like there was a few bugs with this one,
Which
but
I mean,
they're not horrible. They're not
Yeah.
horrible bugs. So, well, yeah.
And then Deo was saying earlier with the meta event being too long of a defense mission, is people are just like, yeah, it's so boring. I just AFK, and it's just like you're making it worse.
Right. That's always the response to people doing that, though, is like, you're part of the problem. Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, one of the things he was saying is it's possible that like he was seeing some of the complaints early on the release, which means that scaling might have been wonky. The map population could have been weird.
Right.
I did the defense mission for the meta, and I felt like there was literally always something for me to do.
Right.
Actually, I think Krista is doing it right now, or she's just elsewhere helping people on the map. But like,
what?
We
She's
did
helping people on
I
the
know,
map?
shocking. You know, she's been playing healer in MMOs for a decade. It's almost like she likes to help people play a game.
Weird.
But I felt like I always had something to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I will admit, the one problem, Mithrin, you bring that up, is I think Ice Daddy doesn't do enough.
Think what doesn't do enough?
The Ice Construct,
Oh,
he doesn't do enough.
okay.
In Mofongo, I don't even touch Reddit every day. I don't want to just be angry all the time.
Right.
So that, and I just hate Reddit as a, like, I hate the structure of Reddit. I absolutely loathe Reddit as a public forum. It's just, I've never liked it. And that this has been ever since Reddit existed. So, but I will agree, like, the event, I feel like the defense before the ice construct shows up is fine. You have to hold off all the Svanir. You have to peel off to take care of the bombers. If the bomber drops the bomb, you have to DPS the bomb down. Please, for the love of God, DPS the bomb down if the bomb gets dropped. Thank you.
Right.
I will admit, the ice construct doesn't do enough while he's walking.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a little lackluster. It was like everybody was just, if you know how to lead your AoEs, it's like, okay.
Well, that and, like, people jump up onto the trebuchets to launch the chains at him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I kind of thought that would be a little more dynamic, like, that it would be more of, like, a lead up to him getting to the keep, but, like,
Oh.
people don't even jump back up to the trebuchets for the second phase of it, because normally he gets DPS down and you just do a hard burn after he stands back up.
Oh, okay.
But what I feel like the most interesting part of the ice construct is when you break his legs and he turns into Lieutenant Dan Ice Construct.
Yes.
So,
Like, honestly, because
I
like,
knew you
it
were
happens in
going
those,
there with that.
it does happen in those phases, and I saw him drop, and I'm like, and I saw like how he still had his upper torso. I'm like, in my mind, the first time I was like, he ain't done yet. Like,
I like that there is that option though. Like you can do that.
oh,
to
and Hat says
fight
it's an
him.
item. I thought it was I thought it was like trebuchets or something, like siege weaponry that
Oh.
you set up. That's disappointing. It's like you spend the time to set up the siege weaponry, and then it's just... I honestly think the siege weaponry is poorly placed because all of the spawn points are so far away. The arrow carts for the most western defense point are never in range to actually make use of. So...
Sad.
Well, it tends to be one of the problems with a lot of stuff where you have stationary defense mechanics is people will always move up to where things spawn in.
Mm-hmm.
And
I wish they would make it so that you could somehow use your siege blueprints that you have for World versus World out in PvP to use on these big like event things. That would be cool.
Yeah. Probably cannot do punishing mechanics in the open world. Yeah.
Well,
Worst part is when you get them in the arrow cart range, and then a ranger uses their knockback.
Well,
didn't happen, I swear.
Everybody remembers Marionette and how much people whined and cried about that.
But it was so easy.
Just it was hard.
Bone Skinner was I did Bone Skinner and people failed it because they didn't CC. Mm-hmm. So
it was the same thing with Vine Tooth too. When that came out, it was really CC'd. Difficult. Yeah. It's a really hard balance because like I know they want to make more challenging PvE content, but
it's like
there's only so much that the community will accept as a
whole.
I can't imagine not CCing. Like it's been around for a while now. And I'm pretty sure not every single player is a new player.
Like my elementalist, the way I play her has little CC. Like I can switch to earth and water and do some, but like I don't have a whole lot. Just the way I'm set up.
Yeah.
But it's fine if everyone contributes a little bit of CC.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, then like you have cripple and immobilize and like. Soft CC still damages the break bar.
Mm-hmm.
So you put that out and you're fine on top of hard CC. And as long as you try, as long as literally everybody in the event is trying to CC.
Trying something.
Like just press your CC button.
Mm-hmm. I almost kind of wish that because I feel like this could just be my assumption, but I feel like there are a lot of players who don't actually read the words of what their abilities do. They just hit the button and be like, oh, that's what that does. So like I feel like there's a group of players or whatever who don't realize what their CC abilities are. So like I almost wish they would put like a different border or something on the icon itself to indicate, hey, this is CC, or something.
I don't know. Like I'd have to go back through the new player experience and see if they accurately explain the break bar.
Right.
Yeah, I know, Hat. And to be fair,
but the new player experience, doesn't that describe everything, right? Like, doesn't that help?
The thing that bugs me is like I've been fighting, telling people to read their tooltips for the entirety of my game, like MMO playing. I've been telling people, read your tooltips. Read your tooltips.
Well, honestly, I blame Blizzard on that because so often their tooltips are not reflective of how things actually work. Because when they
I'm a paladin, I know.
It doesn't update the words. So I have had to unlearn my natural distrust of what the tooltips say.
But
I mean, I gotta give it credit, like Chat was saying, like, with we were talking about the defense mission, how they had the arrow carts and other stuff, and it is introducing that world world element of familiarity, which kind of did remind me of, we way back with Scarlet praised them because it had you finish people off, which I wish they would have kind of kept that with some of the enemies, not every single enemy, but I wish that would have stayed as a
I could
mechanic.
Totally see that for some of the Mordrum Guard. All throughout Heart of Thorns, like you would have had to stomp them to finish them,
right?
But
remember when they first put in stomping into PvE? That was another thing people complained about a lot. They're like, sure. I don't want PvP in my PvE. I kill something, it should just be dead. That was a huge thing.
Be like, well, you get a second chance. Why don't they?
Well, I liked it because I was like, hey, I have all of these finishers I've collected from doing various things. Now I get to use them because I wasn't PvPing very much at that point.
But I think that was a whole lot of discussion off of the meta defense is long.
We were good at that, you know.
We're good at, you know, rambling. Yeah, we're pretty decent at that. You know, I feel like I should take notes on stuff. I could like patch all this stuff together. Now, speaking of patch notes, there was more.
Hey.
High five.
Disgust me.
But there was some other stuff that was added in with the patch, not just the story. Grothmar Valley is now an Icebrood Saga map, so you'll get Icebrood Saga mastery experience. I don't think there were any mastery points in
I don't think so.
So
I don't think so. Probably mainly because
they were going to
there
do
was
this. Yeah.
Right.
nothing.
The Rank and File pub in Grothmar Valley has received a new stock of whiskey, and patrons will now properly ask for it during the Help the Bartender Keep the Customers Liquored Up event.
Yay!
Thank you.
Yeah, really. Selecting one helmet from the Visage of the Connor now unlocks all skins for it.
That's you. That's for you, Tavik. I know. I think last week that's what a lot of chat was saying. Was that's the one thing that is horrible
Technically,
about
you get it
the
3 times, yeah.
Yeah.
So, in order to unlock it, if you haven't done it before, you have to go to an Icebrood Saga map. So Bjorn Marches, Grothmar Valley, or Lion's Arch. So much like a lot of the other auto stuff for checking it.
Wait, Lion's Arch is a Icebrood Saga map.
Yep. They're gonna
No.
destroy Lion's Arch again.
I'm okay with that.
No.
Please destroy Lion's Arch again.
Aw.
I
just hope it
Disney
starts
World
with
Lion's
someone's
Arch.
like, someone in Lion's Arch is gonna have an idle like dialogue going, "I'm gonna do that when hell freezes over," and just frozen.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. The Merchandise Collector achievement is now slightly easier to complete. I don't know what that means because I haven't. I literally didn't even have a chance to look up that achievement.
Yeah.
Well,
I haven't
time to go to the
looked
wiki.
at that one at all either. Merchandise.
It
Merchandise.
sounds
Collector.
like something from Grothmar's Valley. Yeah.
Oh, it is the you have to get all the Metal Legions. Because now you have to get all 3 of the Connor skins, the Connor helm skins. So
Okay.
because of that, it is now slightly easier to complete.
Okay.
Let's see here. General, Living World Season 3 and Living World Season 4 daily achievements have been condensed into new achievement categories. Each day will offer
Yay.
daily achievements for one map from the season, cycling through each map in order of their release.
Okay.
Living World
That's
Season
cool.
3 and Living World Season 4 daily achievements have had their rewards increased to compensate for the reduced availability of daily achievements for a specific map.
Nice.
So we're not flooded with dailies.
Right.
That's good. I like
Which
that.
yeah,
a
I
lot.
was gonna say, I think that's another thing a lot of people on here as well have been asking
Yeah.
for. It's,
Yeah, like, well,
I
I
still miss the old dailies. Like
miss the monthlies.
old. Yeah, that too.
I legit miss the monthlies, but and there were some slight changes for profession skills. Engineer Bulwark Gyro fixed a bug that prevented the skill from properly redirecting damage to the scrapper. Crystal Configuration Eclipse fixed a bug that caused this trait to grant more stability than intended. Revenant Vicious Reprisal fixed a bug that could prevent this trait from granting the listed increased retaliation duration. Wow, that was hard to say. And Soulcleave Summit fixed a bug that prevented this skill from acting as a fire field, which, if they would do more stuff with combo finishers, would probably matter
Yeah.
more.
That's one of those things that I missed. It was really big when the game first came out, was like using the combo fields and all of that, and I feel like it's just totally gone by the wayside.
Yeah, Killian, to extrapolate on what Age said, is literally every Living Story Season 3 and 4 map had dailies.
Yes.
Now, there is going to be a Living Story Season 3 daily map, a Living Story Season 4 daily map, and that's it. You have 2 maps that you have to do dailies for the season.
Yep.
But they increase the rewards because
Yeah.
they're going to
Oh.
rotate
Bit.
everything.
Yeah.
And yes, Hat has a fantastic point. It's going to concentrate people in maps, which is going to
Yeah.
mean that events happen easier.
Yeah.
And
Although
finally,
it will suck for if you want to do an event in one of the maps that's not a daily, but
give it a couple days and you'll have the people to do it.
true. Yeah.
Warrior banners. A 1-second delay before banners can be picked up has been added. I don't
I
know.
hate those.
I just hate
so
banners in
much.
general. I kind of wish it was just warriors who could pick them up.
Yeah, I know. Like, you should just be able to pick up your own banners. Like, my God.
Yeah. Mounts. Skimmer fixed a bug that caused barrel roll and gauge skill to travel less distance than intended. I'm going to save the best one for last. Fixed a bug that prevented the Warclaw's chain pull skill from being affected by structural vulnerability. Fixed a bug that prevented the Warclaw's chain pull skill from granting participation. It now grants participation equal to siege weapon hits. And
Okay.
she's in the forest.
She really is angry about the Warclaw changes.
The Warclaw's lance skill is now unblockable.
Oh.
And now for the best mount patch, Roller Beetle. Mount endurance is no longer set to 0 when mounting up.
Yay!
I did notice that. That was really good.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah, that's fantastic. But
It's like, oh, finally.
like clearly, like the things to be happy about here with the patch notes is like the Helm of the Connor change, the Roller Beetle clearly, banners not being able to be picked up immediately,
Yeah.
judging by Arlie's
Well,
reaction.
like, just starting with 0 endurance on the roller beetle just made it
Well,
needlessly frustrating.
It always
Like,
made me want
why?
to start on like a downhill because it has
Yeah.
acceleration.
Mhm.
But I mean, honestly, it makes it easier to start like time trials because I always remember like setting up. I'd mount up, I'd talk to the person, I'd like get myself like angled properly, and be like, okay, I have to wait for my endurance to be full.
Mhm.
So, but that sounds about it. I have no clever transition for this next bit because it kind of makes me sad, but I'm also kind of questioning it. No raids or fractals planned for a while.
Yeah, they didn't say how long. They just said a while, right?
Well, it is from buff.de, so it's in German. It was translated.
Oh, this translate.
It was it was an article in an interview with talking about Whisper in the Dark with some of the devs. Somebody asked about raids, fractals, and legendaries, and the translated response. The response turned out to be sobering. Nothing is off the table, but in the next episodes of the Icebrood Saga, we cannot expect it. Even new hairstyles will not exist, a feature that many actually wanted. The reason? In the development of new content, it has never been prioritized, probably not in the future. Thoughts? The thoughts is us in the show notes, not...
Well, wait. Are they saying that the hairstyles haven't ever been prioritized?
They're
or
saying-
raids and fractals
I
aren't?
think it was more like a way to show severity, is that like they haven't even thought about doing hairstyles at the moment because they're still working on like Icebrood Saga. I don't... I'm always sketchy on translations.
Yeah, and I'm also wondering if, because a lot of people, it might have been a by the books answer from a dev that also could have been horribly translated. I don't know,
Right.
but they did say in the past that they weren't going to couple the two things anymore. So it could have been them saying that it came out poorly or was.
Who was the interview with? Like what dev?
I don't think it ever listed. That was the thing.
That's a pet peeve. Because like it's also possible that it was somebody who just doesn't directly have knowledge of where the raids and fractal teams are on stuff, so they couldn't say when. So they're like, just not soon.
It's all in German.
Yeah,
so
it
I
just
don't
says it's with one of the developers of Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, I didn't see in any of the translations who it was with.
My God.
Yeah.
Dear people doing interviews, always say who you're interviewing and what their position on the team is. Thanks.
Because at that point, if like we don't know who they are or what they do at ArenaNet, they might not know anything about raids or fractals.
Right.
And the problem is with and how the term dev gets thrown around. I mean, you know, nothing against like Ruby or anything like that, but people were like, Ruby, you're tweeting out like, why don't you spend time doing the strike missions or something? It's like, and I think she said in the past, you don't want me working on the game, like,
Right.
so the dev term does get through. Like, what if it was just a PR person, like,
well,
who
like
isn't
that's kind of one of the things. So a lot of people get tripped up on the terminology of dev, because the way dev is used in games is different than dev is used in like engineering fields and
yes,
stuff. So like for video games, if you do any work at all for a game in
You're
any
developing it.
capacity, you're part of the development team. You are a
yeah,
dev. In engineering and like some other fields, you're a dev if you're doing coding, basically.
you're developing
Stuff
the
like that.
product, whereas
Yeah.
which is still saying that means both ways. Like, if you're on the
Right.
marketing team, you're helping flourish the product, or
Yeah. But yeah, but especially with game, that's why with games, especially when you're reporting on it, it's really important to identify who you're talking to and what they do, because
Absolutely.
it can cover so many different things.
Yeah, and I can't. And if they've decoupled stuff between raids and fract, like if they've just decoupled raids and fractals from like season like packaging, I don't know. Like I'm just I know that there's no way they would stop raid development with strike missions and all the emphasis they've put on
Like getting
strike
people
missions
more into them.
Yeah, like strike missions are the stepping stone into raiding. There's no way they would just stop raiding development after they created strike missions for that explicit purpose. They're not going to stop fractal development, because then there would literally be no 5-man group content, and the 5-man party system would literally be an arbitrary designation for grouping.
Right.
So they'll happen, just they don't have any news, basically, is what I'm getting out of this, without any confirmation for stuff that we could read and see sources for. So I'm looking at this, and Clouds for Days said it's a he said, she said kind of situation. It's conjecture and hearsay. So
yeah, I would be greatly interested to know who were the people they talked to, because especially nowadays, they usually, even if they send a dev with them, they usually have a PR person, because it's like, you ask a question, they're like, oh, I'd love to talk, then they're like whisper in their ear, like, we have nothing to talk about at this time.
Right.
Like,
and
well, like the PR person is really there not just to make sure that the embargoes are followed and they don't accidentally say something they shouldn't say, but also because to make sure they know what was said and have a recording of what was said, so that if the journalist then takes things way out of context or misrepresents what was said, they have some recourse.
Yeah, the PR person is literally there just to make sure that the words are in the proper order.
Understood.
Yeah.
Right.
Understood on both sides.
Then it just is what it is. So I'll wait on this. I'm not too worried about it. I'll admit, I feel like Fractal's kind of stagnated a little bit over the past couple months.
Well, when was the last time
year.
we got a new one?
It was what,
I think it was over a year, because I remember Ben P talking about it on Reddit, like, oh, people still play it and stuff, and because they were asking, what did you enjoy about it, what is keeping you playing those particular ones. So hopefully they're in development of it. I wish there would be one soon, but it sounds like they're maybe looking at making a new one. I feel like
they've got to have a lot of ideas of what could be a fractal, because like fractals can literally be like anything in the world at all. It could be like any story snippet they ever wanted to do. They could be like, we can make that into a fractal, And
the best part about the fractal system, it's like, it talks about instability, like it's like misremembering things potentially. Right. So literally it could be like, this is the lore, like this is the concrete lore story we have. Let's mess with it because of fractal instability. It's like, that's why I'm super excited. That's why originally I was hoping like raids would have been like that, because it could have been like, okay, here the raid, here's an Abaddon fight, or here's a crazy fight that people have always wanted. It has no lore sensitive nature to it. Like,
Yeah.
So that's why I was always excited for the fractals, and it's kind of like they can do what they want.
Yeah, they don't have any kind of like restrictions on that. So I don't know about, I wouldn't call that a policy, Bjorn. That they just kind of give up. ArenaNet is not the only MMO.
It's not Google.
Whoa,
I was
hey.
gonna say more than like a policy.
I
I
was
would
gonna
say that they have only so many hands to put at a thing at a specific time. So
that, and we did just come off of that the company restructuring for ArenaNet.
yeah.
Things are
And I was gonna say, we were just talking earlier about WoW does the exact same thing every expansion. It renders previous mechanics useless.
Yeah, like Guild Wars 2 is by far not the worst game to have kind of a lack of focus on certain things. Kellyanne, it was literally what the point Deo was making, is that ANET is not the only company that has made a thing and then basically forgotten about it. Like, honestly, the design of Guild Wars 2 is the most forward-thinking in any MMO I've ever played. This is the one game that I have played where I have looked at a skill and I have used it for a very long time. Like, and they support making shit work long term.
And,
they don't just put the new hotness in and forget about old stuff.
People might not want to do the raids, some people, because they've done them a bunch and they've gotten their legendary gear and stuff, but there's still other people who need those, and like there's still something you can get out of them doing them. It's not like you outgear them after a while. It's still a challenge.
Yeah, that happens, Clouds. And Bjorn, so we were maybe going to plan doing a stream of the strike mission from the four of us and maybe more people from the guild, whatever. The whole point of the strike missions, like, they're not going to bundle them together, because the whole point of them is to be just an initial fight to kind of get people to have a feel for raid encounters.
Right.
Raids, as they are in Guild Wars 2, string together a series of encounters that feel cohesive.
I think I'd be bored. Yeah, I think I'd be bored. Honestly, if you come from strike missions and you fought a boss like 100 times, and then you go do raid, and then you fight that boss 100 more times or more, just because it's an actual raid.
Yeah.
That might get boring.
Yeah, I mean, it will get boring after a while, but it's
now,
not...
if, say, after the strike mission, that enemy, like, limps away, and then you fight them again in a raid with different mechanics...
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be different. Like, maybe they do have one or two of their original abilities from the strike missions, but then there's a whole bunch of new stuff on top of that.
Yeah.
Like, for an example, keep Construct. Like, say you literally just fight the Construct without all of the extra mesmer illusions and everything popping around, and you just have to deal with the stuff the Construct does. That would be... Yes, Raven Sanctum was merely a setback hat. Exactly. So, like, you just fight the Construct and the abilities the Construct has, and then you go to Bastion of the Penitent, and you fight the Construct, and suddenly, all these clones start showing up, and all this extra shit happens. Like, I think that would be useful. I don't know how you'd fit that into the game story-wise, but... And I've... Clearly, like, this is a skill that I haven't, really worked on, because my transition, like, I've been sitting here thinking about a transition to the next topic, and Deo is just miles ahead of me on this skill, and it's like I need to,
You really wish there was a real life way to
You said
take the
skill
template
twice.
I've created.
Exactly. Like, I wish there was a template for this skill. Speaking of templates, there's feedback on the build templates.
Woo! And everybody was happy, right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's no problems. We can move on, right? That's...
Yeah, everything's fine. There's nothing wrong. Bjorn, I'm going to put a pin in that, and I'm going to come back into your
Yeah.
comment later. Age.
I think he.
Come on.
Welcome back, Age.
I have liquid courage.
Oh, he went and got liquid courage for build templates.
Oh,
Yay.
clearly.
Well, we already said everybody's happy and they love build templates, and there's not really anything to talk about there.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't have to talk about anything.
Okay.
I have my own feedback for it, and I might venture onto the forums to add it to the thread. I will say one thing. In the official forum post, apparently the feedback thread for it is not sticky.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, it's been unstickied, and that's what someone was
Complaining about.
mentioning originally.
It got...
Like originally it was sticky, then they
Oh.
unstickied it.
Yeah. Monday there was an update, thanking everyone for their feedback, and they are looking to address 3 things. Automatically switching build and equipment templates when a character enters or exits PvP in WW, which I will
That
say
should be a thing.
because
That was a big oversight.
Yeah.
because and this is something I talked with QED about. If you play all 3 game modes, you don't have build templates unless you buy more.
Right.
Because you must then, like, because what they said is like, yeah, okay, when we released build templates, slot 1 was PvE, slot 2 was was WW, and slot 3 was PvP.
Yeah.
And they don't have auto swapping anymore. Honestly, I kind of feel like this is just like this could totally be a filtering thing where like you could set a build to be one of, like, you could just put check marks on it, and then the tabs would just be hidden if that build was not the game mode type that you were in.
Right.
So you could have, say, you have 5 build templates, and builds 1, 4, and 5 were all WW, and you were in WW. You would see 1, 4, and 5, and then there'd be a show hidden button.
Right. That'd be cool.
I would just say just give us the same thing, but with build templates.
Yeah. I mean, really baseline, you should, like, I don't know the programming, I don't know all of that stuff, but logically, there's no reason why entering one game mode should not automatically equip what you have for that game mode. Like that, you should be able to set that.
Yeah.
Like baseline.
So I think there are also problems with swapping legendary equipment. Primarily, I think it has to do with manual interactions, which, from what QED was telling me, because me and him had a huge conversation about this when we were talking one of the PvP nights for Zero to Hero. Build templates autosave. So if you have build, like, not build template, like gear templates. So gear template, I keep wanting to say gear and build at the same time. Gear template 1, if that is your active gear template, if you manually change your gear through the hero panel, it will change the slots in your template, and it autosaves it.
Okay.
So, okay, loadouts. I just, I don't think that's a good design to autosave anything.
Right.
Like, the audit, like, I always looked at it with like, if I was able to set up my gear templates, or my loadouts, my apologies, I have to words correctly. My loadouts, I would have like a baseline of gear, and if I wanted to change something like a weapon, I'd have it in my inventory and I'd swap it.
Yeah.
But then I'd be able to go to my loadout and just click loadout 1 again, and it
And
would
go
put me
back.
back to my default.
Right.
And the same
That's
thing for
the way it should work.
And the same thing with builds is, like, I talked before about how when I raided, I was playing Dagger, Warhorn, Fresh Air Elementalist. Sometimes I swapped to Staff. Sometimes I swapped a few traits around. It was always Fire, Air, and Tempest, but I moved stuff around. But
Right.
if my changes manually on the hero panel auto change stuff in loadouts and build templates, that shouldn't happen. Like, I should be able to lock the template or the loadout and I could just go back to baseline with a single click.
Right. Like, the auto saving is weird to me. Like, I don't understand why that's a thing, because that shuts you down from trying something new and messing around with it and then being able to switch back if you don't like it, which I feel like is one of the strengths of having a template where you can change around some stuff and try some other things, and if you don't like it, you just hit a button and switch back. That's the entire point to me. So yeah.
And the only thing that came out of this is, because we have limited time to program, test, and implement these changes before the winter holidays, we'll be able to give you a progress update early in the new year. Which, for some of these things, kind of sucks. But, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with time being limited in the last 2 months of the year.
I kind of wish that... I kind of wish in that case they would have held the build templates for the new year in the first place, so that they would have come out and they would have had the time to iterate and work on it then and respond to feedback, whereas now they're out and we're kind of stuck with it until after the new year, which I totally understand. I don't want them to be working through the holidays. That sucks. Like, nobody wants to do that, but like, I kind of wish that they had just held them a bit longer.
I mean, my idea might be bad, Killian. But I don't know. Don't worry about it. You're fine. I like Mithrin's idea, too, is like you can have a switch automatically drop down on a given gear or build template, and it's just, you know, when I enter a fractal, go to gear template 1, build template 4.
I wish they had kind of come up with a system where you equip the things that you want to equip, you go into the thing and you're like, create set tank or whatever, and then you save that, and then you equip everything else the way you want it, and like create set PvE or whatever, you know, like where you could just create those things that way rather than having these, I guess, slots or whatever. I don't know. To me, it feels like a long way to go around to accomplishing the same thing. And I'm sure there's something on the back end that made it have to be this way, because I can't imagine anybody coming up with the system just without any restrictions and being like, oh yeah, this is perfect. You know?
Yeah.
Like, it's a very weird system to me. Like, it's not even intuitive. Like, explaining it to somebody, they're like, wait, what?
My entire problem, like, I had no idea that you effectively equipped a loadout or a build template, and if you made manual changes, it made changes to your template.
Right.
Like, that's not intuitive at all.
No.
That's definitely not how anything should behave. But like, it should be like there should be a stateless thing. Like, there should be no active connection between the hero panel and your equipment and build, or the template and the template. Like, there should be no active connection there. It should be a one-way thing. You click set skill or set gear, and it should transmit data to your inventory to say, put this gear on, and that's it.
You know what? I was just thinking about this. Like, this is the exact kind of thing that annoys me the heck out in Dauntless, because it's the same way. You have your different loadouts you can set, but you are in one, and say we go to fight something where I need a different set of gear and I don't have another empty loadout, I have to change everything on that one, but then like
it changes the actual loadout. Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
That's why they want you to buy another one.
It's terrible. Like, you always have to
you
keep
can
one
only
loadout to be your switch.
Yeah.
switch.
Yes.
That's what she said.
Until you have enough loadouts so that you can have every possible combination of your gear that you need, there has to be one that you just use for switching around random things that you don't already have a loadout of.
Well, Mithrin, that's the problem I have, is it was called the template system.
Yeah.
It's like, you're right, they're loadouts and they actively swap, but they called them templates, which means they should not.
Right.
So
I also haven't messed with them that much in the game, just because, again, like I said, it's not intuitive, and I haven't wanted to put the effort into figuring out yet. I just don't have the energy. But can you name your templates when you make them?
Yes.
Like, is that a thing? Okay.
Yeah, you can name everything.
Well, that's good. At least you have that.
Yeah, but I think we really just have to sit around and wait for them to give us more stuff on the forums. Which,
Right.
Yeah, hopefully it'll eventually morph into something both sides can agree upon.
yeah,
Maybe not both sides be happy about, but both sides agree upon.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then and okay, so naming templates is is subject to the same limitations as naming characters and pets. Yeah, well,
What are the naming restrictions for characters and pets? Because I've honestly never run into them.
neither have I, but I'm not surprised that they use the same
I
naming
mean,
stuff.
I've always liked that you could have multi-word names for your characters, so...
Unfortunately, Mithrin, I don't think we're ever going to get client-side storage. That's where they're
Yeah.
probably going to try to make their money on it, but...
Right.
Well, it's not even like money. Like client-side storage is not like or storage of these loadouts. I mean, it's string data.
Mhm.
It takes up so little space in the grand scheme of things that it's probably
no apostrophes, no bad
it's
words.
probably like definitively cloud because it's a usability thing. When you log into your account somewhere else, if
Yeah.
you don't have your stuff set up, or say you reinstall your computer, if you didn't move your template loadouts out, you lose all of them.
Is there any way for somebody else to see what the name of your templates are?
I don't think so, unless that's also stored in the templating system that you can share from builds.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, if when you share the name that you named it shows up too, then I totally understand it being under the same rules of like pets and characters. But if
Well-
it's just something only you will ever see, that seems silly to me. I don't know.
But why would they want to name their template after Richard? Anyway, naming stuff. I mean, there are restrictions on names, including some of the restrictions on developers on the forums.
Oh.
I'm waiting to see if Age walks off. But there was a change to some rules for ArenaNet personnel on the forums. They have
They
always
can
been.
say everything all the time. Tell us all the things.
I kind of wish that they could tell people off, but
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, that's fine. But we'll probably.
No, I
start
think they've
seeing...
gotten a good handle on things on the forums.
Oh my god. Anyway, they can now use pseudonyms.
Oh.
They don't have to post under their real names anymore.
Oh, I actually like that.
Which means that you'll probably see more developers posting on the official forums.
Yeah.
Because
I like that, actually.
the problem
a
we
lot.
have with the internet is that if people know your real name,
They do terrible things.
yeah. Yeah, they do. And it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But now the ANET devs don't have to worry about that because they can post under, gamer tags.
Right.
Unless people
It's
know
kind
their
of
gamer
weird.
tags.
Well, that's
mean-
what I was gonna say. That's kind of weird because, like, like Blizzard's been like that forever. Their community devs and everybody have their screen name, and that's who. And we know who some of them are. Like, people find out or whatever. But like, my opinion is like, there's always a way to find these things out and figure it out. But you don't want to make it easier than you need to for somebody terrible to find out your personal information.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's out there and you can find it, but I want to make it as difficult as possible. I don't want to make it a super easy thing.
Challenge accepted.
I was gonna say that was gonna be my question, and I guess Chad's saying they don't have to use their game accounts because all it says on there is they have an option to choose a personal handle,
Right.
and I think they do relate it similarly to how ours are our accounts.
Yeah.
Well, like, I know, I can't say all of them. I know a lot of them have multiple accounts. Like they have one account that they will actually flag up and have the ANET account on and stuff. And they also have another account where they only other devs know that they're devs, essentially, because like it's nice not to have that tag sometimes and just to be another gamer and see like interact with the community on a real organic level instead of like people always knowing you're a dev or whatever.
Because people, I'm sure when people are running around with the ANET tag up, they get whispers constantly.
Constantly, all the time.
So, and I could only imagine how frustrating that would get.
Right, especially if like, you know, you come home from a long day at work and you just want to relax and play your game a little bit, like, you know.
Honestly, the fact that I've seen so many tags from ArenaNet in the game is really impressive to me, because
oh yeah,
you go to work and you're working on this game, and then you go home and you play this game, and it's just like you can actually actively enjoy the thing you're doing, and that's good.
Yeah.
But
you can't do that with like a game like League of Legends. You get really, really,
Jesus.
Yeah.
Especially if you QA that game.
Yeah, I can only imagine there are a lot of rioters that have other accounts.
I know people who've QA'd League of Legends. They don't really play League of Legends.
I would only imagine. What's wrong with LoL? It's a PvP only game, which means that it has its community is a PvP community.
No, not even that. Even when you QA a game like League of Legends, it is constantly, you're playing a ton of matches, right? Just to QA things, or you're going in and testing various things. So you're not. Sometimes you might like the game, obviously, but you're probably not going to play it as much just because you QA it a lot.
Yeah.
For me, it's the community. I tried League of Legends for a little bit.
I do remember that.
And I was like, okay, this is interesting, but it's not worth my time. I don't want to put up with this stuff.
Yeah,
it's like being a new player, I didn't know like any of the things. And
the tutorial, I can't remember if you played before they changed the tutorial or after.
Before.
I think it was before.
Oh, so she played when Ash got Thornmail. Got it.
She played around season 3, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was a long time ago at this point.
Mithrin, my only problem with Heroes of the Storm is it's a dead game. Hey, don't sigh. Blizzard did that, not me.
You know, say Blizzard actually announced that.
It's not a dead game. WildStar's a dead game.
It's on their classic games list now.
Really? They did that to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, dead game.
Yeah. They had a
They're
listing for a dev job to work on classic games like StarCraft, Warcraft, and Heroes of the Storm.
Well, maybe they'll get like Warcraft remastered. We'll get a Heroes of the Storm remastered. No?
Pour one out for WildStar. Hashtag pour WildStar. Anyway.
We've gone far afield at this point.
A little bit.
We're not too far off.
Well,
Go ahead.
We're not too far off, but you know, WildStar, they didn't have the cash to keep going. Speaking of having the cash to keep going,
they didn't have the players keep going. Hold on.
Gem store stuff. Yeah, I know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not as good at Deo as Deo is at this. We have a new 2K gem mount. We're gonna go with side panel. We're gonna turn off the IBS launcher.
And it's not flashy at all. Oh, it's a launcher. The new mount was a launcher.
You can ride the launcher.
We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna turn that on. What the heck is that? It's a Springer skin. The infernal Springer.
I've heard very.
Oh yeah. I like it. It's so ridiculous. I love it.
It looks like something straight out of Doom.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but it is the Springer.
Doom, because it's not like, you know, really scary and it's like somebody wanted to make something scary and menacing but also cute, and it just ended up looking ridiculous. But I will love it. I absolutely love it.
Well,
yeah, like Chad says, it's like it's an interesting skin, but it's the Springer.
Well, I still use my Springer, but that's mostly because I don't have a Sky Scale yet.
I use Springer too.
To be honest, I think I'd still use my Springer if I know I'm just making quick jumps, because the Springer is still faster at instantaneous vertical movement compared to the Sky Scale.
I was gonna say I still use the Springer because I'm terrible at jumping. So anywhere where I need to jump, I use the Springer.
Fair.
It's easier.
No, I don't think we've talked about the BLTC logo ever.
Did they change it?
Uh,
I didn't even
Well,
notice.
I think the little icon in the top corner, they might have changed this recently, or someone noticed. I mean,
I don't pay attention to it. It's not something I really notice. But, and it's funny that, you know, somebody mentioned the skimmer, because the skimmer is the other one that has the infernal skin. So, there's that. But, jump back over here for the rest of this so I can actually use this monitor to finish talking about this. So
yeah.
we had that. We had changes to the Black Lion chest, and that is it is now the Dark Whisper chest. The rewards are the new Fine Black Lion die canister blue has been added as a guaranteed item for the duration. The new Celestial Axe skin, the new Infernal Horror Springer skin is now in there. The Searing Chain gloves return. The Bloodstone and Phoenix weapons are now available as uncommon and rare drops, respectively. And unused versions of the Glyph of Bounty and Glyph of the Scavenger are now available in the chest. Items available in exchange for Black Lion statuettes have been updated. The Dragon Fireworks package, the Sworn Zaishen helm skin, and the Celestial Compass skin are now in the Black Lion statuette store.
Ooh.
And bonus collection has been updated to a selection of weapon skins, including the Stormbow, Rival Skies axe set, and the Sun-Touched Scythe staff skin.
Nice.
I'm still waiting for the what was it, the bunny backpack that I tried to get to be in the statue store. It has not gone there. I'm holding on to my statues for that, and they're not doing it.
We do have a video of the Celestial Axe courtesy of Senieth. Oh, no, that's not, that needs to be muted. Can't talk about it with the music on. Thought I had muted that tab before. And I like it. It looks good.
It's nifty.
And then the axe blade fades in, and there we go.
Yep.
And that's it.
I really, really like that effect. It's nifty.
Now, the problem I have is people are like, oh, so they're basically just put Astralaria in the gem store. And I'm just like, that's not...
Which, for someone that has Astralaria, do not insult Astralaria by saying that one is equal.
Yeah.
No, Astra is way better.
It's similar, but yeah, it's not the same.
Well, it's similar because they both have a gyroscope in the middle.
Right.
Like, I could see this maybe of being like a scrapped precursor model to Astralaria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like, oh, the particle effects. Like, there are no particle effects because I think it's basically like the glow increases maybe a little bit. But the only thing special about it is that the blade and the back spike fade in.
Right. I like it.
So
I like that
nice.
slow change, that it's not like instant as soon as you pull it out. Like, I like that.
And it doesn't even have particle effects. Like, people are saying that, you know, that this goes back to the whole only the good stuff is in the gem store, and I'm just like, you can get better skins than this in the game.
Well, I mean, that's also like subjective. Depends on what you like, I guess.
I will admit, I'm with Killian. It's too bad it's blue.
What?
This
it's
is
cool.
Well,
cool things
Celestial.
are blue.
I get it, but like, I would like different colors of that. Which
Well,
again,
that gets back to, it would be nice to be able to dye
weapons.
weapons. At least like the auras and stuff.
Green flip. Sorry. I watch Acquisitions and Corporate.
No, I got you.
Look, Warlocks wanted green flames for the longest time, so they finally got them, but it took a quest to do it. But I mean, it's a Black Lion chest exclusive, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be doing anything to get this. What about
So
you guys?
is it tradable or is it a?
I didn't look.
I don't think so.
Because I know usually weapon sets are tradable, but are the well, I guess not because
No, I
some of the
think
unique
they're
ones that were in the
countbound.
past, yeah, were account bound. So yeah, I guess that's the bummer portion of that. Though eventually it will end up in the statuettes, kind of like the other ones we were talking about, the sun-touched scythe staff skin,
Yeah.
the storm bow, which were all the exclusive ones.
Except that bunny. That bunny will never show up.
Yeah.
Or do. It should come soon. Maybe it'll come around like a year into the Easter, like around
Well,
there.
I was gonna say I feel like it's been over a year since I tried for that, and it has never been in the statue store.
They might come back. They might show back up in. I don't know.
No, I did not miss the chance because when it was in the store,
She
I
tried.
bought tons and tons of keys. I literally went through all of the Black Lion chests that I had. You know how many chests I had? I had a ton
You refilled her
of
Port de
chests.
France stash.
Yes.
I reject your reality and
And now I
substitute
have
my
so
own.
many statues, but they're not putting the Springer backpack in the statue thing.
They're doing this specifically to, you know, like they took forever to put the blue glowy eye mask in to specifically mess with me. They're
Yeah.
specifically keeping the rabbit backpack out just to mess with you.
Yeah. They're like, if we give her to her, she'll have no reason to play. We can't do that.
I keep like a stack of Black Lion chests in my bank just because.
Yeah, they're super cheap, so like
But
just buy
the
a
rest
few.
of them. The rest of them I just sell.
So, Killian, the thing is I only ever opened the chest when I got free keys from just playing the game. So, having played the game since early access when it first came out, you got the chests a lot faster than you get keys. So just over the years, I had a lot of chests. Like, it wasn't that I was hoarding them, I just got them at a much faster rate than I would get keys because generally I don't buy keys. But I
That's
really
saying
wanted
it's
that
listed under
backpack.
the historical offerings for the statuettes.
Really?
Well, let me go check. So while I go check for Arlie, and you know, if I say yes, it's there, she'll probably squeal and then go buy it.
I mean, I
Well,
could just
historical
log in
usually means
myself.
it's not no longer in there, which
I've been watching it. Like, how did I
How
miss
did you
that?
miss it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So thoughts? Springer skin?
I like it, but for me, the use case of a Springer versus I don't like 2K gem mount skins, like the price for them, I probably wouldn't get it, but it looks nice.
Just on the merits of visual, would you buy it? Like, or not buy it? Like, would you?
Well,
want it?
If you had the gems,
okay,
would you
yes.
get it?
Well, no, because that's still making me go, I could use this 2,000 gems for something else.
Like more bank
But
tabs.
But, unfortunately, I can't. But do I want it? Like the look of it? Yes.
Okay.
But yeah, the price tag and the use case versus that would probably rule me out.
Yeah, that's gonna be no for me.
I love it. I would buy it, but I'm still saving gems for the gecko one because I want to get that when it comes back up for the Springer.
What's up, like last?
Yeah, I didn't have the gems at that point.
Uh-huh.
Like, I couldn't spend the money, so I'm sure it'll
Missed your
come
chance,
back again.
like the backpack. You missed your.
I know, like, me and ArenaNet don't have our timing very good. They put things up when I can't, like, spare the money for it.
Like, come on, Arlie, you don't have to eat this month, right?
Saving money is for chumps. Why
Well,
do that?
The thing that's funny is I literally have the skin in my bank.
The gecko skin?
No, the Springer kit backpack.
Oh. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
I remember because you went and you did it. You just happened to have, like, some keys and you got it.
Yeah.
I got the gecko. That's also from Keys.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I didn't try for that one.
I didn't try for that one either.
I'm less bitter about that.
That's when I wailed that one time.
Killian, it'd be
Yes,
cheaper
salty
to
Arlie is salty.
it'd be cheaper to buy a bunch of character slots than to buy build templates.
Yeah.
Like, it's cheaper to just designate a character to one game mode than it is to try and buy more templates
Right.
or loadouts.
Which is ridiculous.
However, anything I'm guessing you guys aren't gonna go farming keys for this chest.
Yeah, my key character just had her 3rd birthday, so
Yeah, Deo and I were
I was
talking
gonna
about
say,
that.
I think I'm a little bit near the. I think I've hit the 1 year on mine. I've been pretty slacking on that.
I delete my character when I'm done key farming.
I was doing that when I was regularly doing it. I did that, and then I logged off of her after getting one time, and then I just didn't delete her,
Forgot.
and I never
Yeah.
went back and was like, oh, no.
I just don't want anybody to take my character's name, so I don't let it stay for like a week. So that's why I usually delete it the day I'm gonna farm it.
Is your key farmer a thief so you can
No, I
Mine?
want it to actually be useful.
Wow. Anyway,
How about that community corner?
yeah, how about that community corner? We have one big thing. We have an achievement guide from somebody by the name of Yara doing an achievement guide for Whispers in the Dark. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the Reddit post for that, and I'm going to drop that in chat. But they're still working hard on a website, and they struggle with web programming, but they are hoping to have made some progress. They want to be absolutely honest, so here are some proclamations. I know you would love to have it added on the wiki instead of another site, but I've already paid for the domain, web hosting, and web programming schema. If you want to add any of my content on the wiki, I have no problem with it. So that's fine, because honestly, a lot of the times I see people do projects like this, it's to have something that they love to help drive learning something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get into Java stuff for Minecraft modding to get better at Java. So that's that. You can notice that on the left side there's a window with advertisement. Not gonna lie, I would love to add one advertisement there to make some money for to help paying for hosting Photoshop and Wondershare Filmora that I use. Oh, that's fine. Plans for the future: work on web and YouTube channel, become partner with ArenaNet and YouTube. More power to them. Like that's great.
I would say the harder out of those two is probably somehow partnering with YouTube at this point.
They just need views.
I was
I don't
gonna
know.
say YouTube
Yeah.
is very like, I don't know.
Well,
it's
like,
wonky.
look, your content has to be family friendly, but if you make your content for kids, you can't make money off of it.
Right.
But you have to
I
be
mean,
careful.
it
because
sounds
kids
like
might watch your
advertisements, but
content.
also look into, Patreon stuff, and
Yeah.
once you have like a following, and
Honestly, I look at websites and I think that people are gonna break away from Google AdSense because
Yeah.
AdSense is terrible.
Hmm.
yeah,
And I'm talking from a security standpoint because when my sysadmin implemented an ad blocker company wide, and it knocked 80% of our blocked sites list off of our web traffic in a
Wow.
day. So, and we constantly get people calling in. It's like, hey, this computer is saying I looked at child pornography and it's making a loud noise, and it's just that, those schlocky, like, poorly written, translated sites that say you have to, like, make donations to a PayPal account or something, or you're
Right.
going to be fined by the FBI or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think we're going to see people, like, actually go out and get advertisement deals for their websites manually again,
Hmm.
like how things used to be on the internet.
Right.
But, and yes, Mithrin, that's a pretty good key farmer name. I like that. But other than that, like, that's our community corner, and I like that because with Delphi having life, we kind of have to wait for other people to make guides, and Yara doing this, like, good on you.
Yeah.
So this is the point where where I have to come up here and I have to turn this on over Deo's head. Just
Spoiler Spoilers.
We're getting to spoiler section. So we're actually going to be talking about the story for Whisper in the Dark. So
Yeah, I need more courage. Start without me.
okay. So
Be right back to. I'm listening.
overall,
Oh, geez, everybody's leaving. I'll be right. No, I'm kidding.
hold on one second, because I'm gonna go
Okay.
grab water.
It's just me, guys. All right. So we start with a letter and a message, and we get a message from Amora saying we need to come to the north, not too far north, just north enough where it gets frosty. Oh, okay. And it's kind of interesting. You hear her voice; it's a bit off. It sounds like. And as soon as you're off of the recording with her, telling you to go up to, what's the place called? Bajora?
Bajora Marches.
Bajora Marches. That's it.
Which I thought it was marshes at first, and I was like, "That's a weird name. This is not at all marsh-like." And then I reread it, and I was like, "Oh, I was mistaken."
Nice.
But yeah, as soon as you get off of the radio with her, you kind of just talk to Ritlock going, she just sounded a bit off. And
I was gonna say, can I just say, like, are we gonna go through every single thing in the order it happened, or
I
can we
can't.
just like talk about it?
I'll admit, I don't think I can,
Aw.
because I realize that it is past 6, and I don't know if I can sit here for another 3 hours.
okay.
Right. Well, I just want to say, like, I don't know about you guys, but when we got that call from Omora in the beginning, my first thought was like, oh God, she's now a dragon minion and she's trying to lure us out there.
Yep.
Like, that's literally what I expected to happen.
100%, yeah.
Unfortunately, I think, and not to be like horrible about this, but I think for me, Reddit and the show, doing the show kind of ruined it for me, because we were talking last week about, or previous weeks, of the nod to HP Lovecraft and how it has that similar thing. As soon as that happened, I'm like, oh yeah, she's mind controlled, or the voice of blah blah, and like I instantly already thought along those lines of, okay, she's, you know.
Well, to be fair, I don't think they were really trying to hide that with.
No, it was
cadence.
definitely deliberately sounded off. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Especially when she just kind of talked over you for a bunch of the stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Also, it was funny for me last week when I was watching you guys. One of you, I don't remember who, somebody made a comment about, oh, maybe Omora's going to be dead. And I was like,
I think I said that because I was relaying it back to that story where you find out the whole time this guy was meeting with the person that had the information of these new creatures.
Yeah.
And then they go up there and the place is totally abandoned, and it really hints at they were talking to the creature the whole time. And I was like, and that's why I think knowing that I was instantly jumped to that. And but yeah.
Well, that's what I was thinking, Killen. Like, if she became a dragon minion, I was just gonna be really, really sad. Like, and I mean, it's bad enough that Jormag's using her voice. Like, first of all, how? But secondly, like, I'm happy they went that way with it rather than she became a minion, because that
gave her at least a decent death. I know, like they even say in the story, you know, that's not an honorable death. Not even the Sons of Svanir would have did that to her, like buried her or something. You know, it's like, so it's, yeah.
So we have someone else who was there that buried her, which means that we also
know who buried her.
Right,
Somebody found her and buried her. My theory is, I think it's
Malik.
No.
Oh.
Nobody cares about Malik.
Wow.
Malik's dead.
Maybe Banger.
Ritlock's son. What was his name? Damn it.
Rylan?
Rylan. Yeah, I think it might have been Rylan who found her and buried her.
I was gonna say, and yeah, chat saying like Krisha suggested maybe if it was Bangar or
I
yeah.
don't think so. I think Bangar is 100% a dragon minion. I would be
I don't
shocked
think
if it's
so.
not. Like
Well,
not
see, this
fully
is,
taken over, but I think he like listened to the voice and was like, "This, yeah, you
and I
make
was gonna
good
say,
points."
and I was talking with Jim about this earlier. Was a lot of people have compared Jormag to Morgemoth in the sense
Mhm.
of
Messing with
it
your
can go in your
mind.
mind and mess with your mind. But I'm like, Jormag's 10 times worse because Morgemoth literally just reached in your mind and controlled it.
Yep.
Jormag made you believe that choice.
Jormag is like very persuasive
Yeah,
sounding and like
Jormag makes you
manipulative.
accept it because they're like, yeah, come on, I'll give you power, I'll protect. Jormag makes you want to go willingly,
Mm-hmm.
whereas
Yeah,
it feels like with all the other ones, it's against their will.
I
Yeah.
think
Really no control.
I think Jormag is actually more worse just because I think it's more worse than Mordramoth in the sense of Jormag can talk to anyone, whereas Mordramoth can only talk to Solar.
It's also more insidious to me, you know, like insidious. Wow. It's more insidious to me than Mordramoth was, because Mordramoth was just like, reach in, I'm a puppeteer. Like, if you can resist me, whatever. But you know. Also,
Yeah.
we never got really a sense of like how many Sylvari were able to resist Mordramoth. Like, I'm kind of curious about that. Like, did most of the
Yeah, we
Sylvari
really only got to
turn,
see so
or
much the struggle from like Kanak's perspective, like near the end where he's like, oh, I'm getting closer and all that
well,
stuff.
with Kanak and Larenther, we got to see that a little bit with him in the
Yeah.
out in the zones and stuff.
I had two major highlights
Okay.
throughout the story. The first one was when you're going around doing the events, and you have to go do the event with Marjorie, where she's helping disrupt some Svanir rituals, and she hears Belinda's voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The voice acting in that.
Yeah.
Holy
It was really
shit.
good. I felt so bad for her.
I was
that-
like,
Oh my god.
yeah, very out of character.
Well, that
like,
and extended off of that was when you talk to her after you go back to Jorah's Keep, and she's trying to get a hold of Casimir. Just the level of voice acting
Yeah.
is just top tier. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah. And I think I was telling you when she tried to call Cass, I got so mad that Cass didn't answer. I was like, "What
See, for
are you doing? You need to answer right now." I was so
Do we-
pissed off.
do we know where Casimir was? I know in the prologue she was helping.
Countess Anise, I think.
Well, no, she was in the prologue, and then I think she was helping the Char with something. Like she went a different direction.
She was
I
playing with some kids.
Okay, I don't know. I accounted it as it might have been the snowstorm blocking it out, but I mean I don't think there was really anything besides earlier on they talked about they communicate, like the communication was very tough to get through because the snowstorm kept battering them down type
Yeah.
thing. So I don't know, for some reason I made those two connections or
Right.
it's possible.
So the second highlight, and honestly this is kind of along the same lines, but like that ending cinematic. Someone hand animated that corpse.
Huh?
Those aren't
Yeah.
stock animations to
That
Guild
was
Wars
really
2.
good.
Yeah.
Oh, they just
Crazy.
remapped the
It
Thriller
was
video.
So creepy.
And then when
Oh.
it just drops, when the guy's corpse just drops at the end, and he's like all twisted around, just
Yeah.
ah.
So we didn't talk about Guild Chat at all. But I watched
I
it
didn't have
and
to watch it.
it was really funny because I learned the creepiest, weirdest little factoid that I never expected to learn on Guild Chat. But they were talking about how they created that cinematic and the process they went through. They were talking about how they were trying to decide how they wanted that corpse to move and how to really convey that. And one of the things they said was where they ended up was to make it like how spiders move, because spiders don't have muscles and things in their legs. They just pump blood into their legs and that causes them to move. And I was like, that is so creepy. Spiders are even more scary now. What the fuck?
Yeah, spiders have hydraulic legs.
Yeah. But that's what they were going through for, was basically that Jormag was pumping magic into it, and that's what was causing the limbs and everything to move. And I was like, that's totally what was going on there. They did a really good job of that, and it was creepy as hell.
Yeah, that was really good. And
yeah.
I honestly really love how it was mostly Almora's voice.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the underlying like and it when like Jormag was coming through, it was the much deeper growl, and then you also got a little bit of the Freinir's voice.
Yeah.
And just the mixing is amazing in this chapter. It's stupid good.
Yeah. Did you guys watch Guild Chat?
No.
I didn't want to get spoilers. Yeah, okay. I didn't want to get spoilers.
Oh, but you've played it now, right?
He played it.
I played it now, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So another interesting thing that they talked about was there's a bit of a secret message there when you hear Jormag's voice coming through over Almora's voice, or mixing in, and they decided very specifically what words that would happen. Like, oh, I can't remember the exact phrasing, but there was some point where he was saying, Oreen wants to end the cycle, I want it to, or something along those lines.
He wants to help
her.
Or
help her.
Yeah, I want to help her. But what he actually says is, I want her, and I want it to end. So like it changes the meaning a little bit, instead of just being this I'm here to help kind of thing, being more sinister kind of. It was really, really interesting.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Huh. I'm going to go back and play it on another one of my characters, because I was like, wow.
Because I was trying to match the undertone with the Amora when I recognized it at some point, but I felt like it was like maybe that's why I couldn't clearly understand everything, because like I felt sometimes I couldn't understand the dialogue, but maybe that was why.
Mithin's got a point. Is at this point Jormag's probably tormented the same as Krakatorrik.
Probably. Well, I mean, like, you've got to figure the other two that we killed, every time we did that, that magic went out into the other dragons, and that's partially what corrupted Krakatorrik. I don't think it was just absorbing some of Balthasar's stuff.
Yeah, I wonder if this feature of Jormag can talk to us is an after effect of just absorbing all the other magic.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Because that would make sense. Because if Mordramoth had the ability to talk to Silvari, but if like Krakatorrik, for example, had the ability to corrupt, then it gives Jormag the ability to corrupt all, but also get in people's head because of that.
Right. Well, also, I was wondering, so I did it on my human elementalists, and I'm curious if there's any differences in the story, like when you're hearing, when you're out wandering around and you're hearing the whispers in your head. I wonder if there are any differences if you're Norn or not Norn.
I was gonna say, I don't know about the whispers specifically, but there were some dialogues like that, at least because I played through on my Norn, that felt like this was definitely something like, I think when you first go to not Blackgate, what's the Char?
Black Citadel.
Black Citadel. Well, there's a gate there. But I think even Marjorie says something like, talks about the spirits or something, and she's like, oh, you must know all about that or something. Like, that's what she told me as a Norn. So it definitely felt like one of those dialogues where it's like, clearly this was put there for a Norn. I think my character I played through was a Raven one specifically, and I think they even said like, oh, you know the history and stuff of like the Raven, and like it kind of it recognized my character as a Norn that
Yeah.
I guess followed the
Right.
Raven Spirit.
Well,
But
I know
Good.
Krista said, because she was the one who was running the instances on Wednesday.
Mhm.
When you first started hearing the voice, I think she said, her character said, it reminds me of Mordramoth.
Mm, interesting.
So,
oh,
so there's
as a
even
Sylvari
callbacks.
or
Oh
something.
wait,
Yeah,
she's
she's
a
like
Savari,
female
right?
Sylvari. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Hap brought up something interesting that now that I think about it, he said he thinks Jormag could already like whisper to people because that's how the
Yeah.
Spaniard got corrupted
Mm.
in the first place. That reminded me, and I'd have to go back to the book and double check, but I think in Edge of Destiny, when they go after Jormag's champion, that there is some message of hearing whispers in their head. Like I think that I remember something about that.
Ah, I wonder. Okay, but
I
now I'm
remember, I
wondering.
think Air said something about it.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
But
that's why I was like, I thought Jormag always whispered to him.
could
I'm
his
just, yeah.
could his whispers extend to other races of Tyria? That's what I want to know.
That's, yeah, I don't know.
Is that
Um,
new? Because that seems new. Because that would
right.
explain why Bangar is like going up on arms about
Mhm.
everything.
Well, and that's the other thing. Like he was talking about having a dragon of his own. Like if he's allied with Jormag, you know, that's essentially accomplishing what he's doing. There's also, I don't know if you guys saw it, but there's a storybook in the game that I think it's doing one of the events you find, where it talks about the person who brought back
Yeah, I
the
saw you
youth of
link that,
Jormag.
and I think they said after you actually complete the meta, there's a location. It's basically a set of things called a burden.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I'll link in chat in case people want to see it.
It's the area that opens.
But
up
it
the
follows
bounties.
basically notes from basically the guy that killed him, Asgear, or probably
They didn't
mispronouncing
kill
it. But,
him. Just brought back.
well,
his
sorry, the legend. My apologies,
Mhm.
but and it is interesting because apparently they ended up fighting each other to like their last ounce of strength each,
Mhm.
and basically Jormag gave him a proposition, and the funny thing was he accepted it but didn't, like he refused it but still walked away with the tooth because he was going to change the story for future the Norn, because he
Right.
knew leading if he would have told him the story that Jormag presented, they would all just go up and attack him anyway for the thrill of the fight.
Mhm.
But in the end it's like, yeah, but you still did what he wanted you to do, or she I we don't know Jormag, like I guess they're
Right.
but they still had you do what you want that they wanted you to do. Like I think this is such the power of Jormag versus Mordramoth, where Mordramoth literally just took control of you and said, "You're thinking this way now. You're a prisoner in your own mind." Whereas Jormag makes you think it was your idea,
Mhm.
and I think that's even worse. I mean, we're seeing that with the Bangar,
Yeah.
going up there. It's like,
I will
Yeah.
admit the other side effect is the Raven Sanctuary. As the secondary player in the instance, it's not great.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a common problem with a lot of the instances, because the way they do them is designed around one person
Mhm.
doing them,
Because they're
but you
single player
can do
story.
it with people. Yeah, but you can do it with other people. You have that option, but like it would take significant increase in dev time to do the instances so that both people have equal ownership of things and all of that. Like
Right.
it would take it would be a significant increase in time, so that's why they don't do it that way. Which, I mean, I get it, but it would be nice for people who do always do them with people.
and like Chad's saying, I think they did do an excellent job with the whispering, because as you're going through the as you're going through the zone, you get the whispers too, and your character's yelling back at it. It's
I really liked seeing how each of the other characters dealt with the whispers and how it really picked at what they were already thinking and feeling
insecure
all
about, or
yeah. That was really interesting to me, especially with Ritlock and Carisha. That whole whole part where their little breakdown where they start like yelling at each other and being angry at each other was really interesting to see how that unfolded.
I hope that
And see that. Oh god.
I hope that carries through for the whole story. Like, instead of us just kind of shrugging it off and, you know, it's just Jormag, we can just shrug that off now. Like, I hope that it carries through as like a constant.
At it. Yeah.
And I'm wondering if because the Jormag's now in that area where the Raven sanctuary or shrine thing is, we saw in the Raven trials, literally it's changing, like it changes how you see things, but I think that's because it's not letting this possibly the signals get to your brain, kind of the whispering thing. It's not, you know, it's a different type of a hallucination. Because as you go through the second trial, after the second trial, they're like, we've been standing here the whole time.
Right.
It's like, wait,
but you
what?
were running around by yourself. Like, where are you guys?
And I think that might be another reason why I pawned off the Marjorie thing was maybe Casimir was responding, but Jormag just like, I need you to feel alone. Like really playing on that insecurity. Because I want to make sure it wasn't a glitch for me, but Marjorie, when you talk to her and she's worried, she was pacing back and forth, right? Okay, I was gonna say I didn't know if that was like a weird tracking bug, but I was like, if this is actually a legit thing, I was like, excellent use of like, you know, it made it feel her more worried about it. So
that was spoilers for Dead Space. Isaac Clarke's girlfriend is dead, and he technically knew the whole time. Like. That was something that basically came up from another character. The whole, like, and it's kind of the same thing with, like, Spec Ops The Line. Like, it's entirely possible the things we're seeing are not actually the things that we're dealing with. So, considering the amount of power Jormag probably has, but, and I hate to rush, but I do have to eat because I am starving.
Well,
but
I was gonna say, can I throw this one last thing out?
Go for it. I wanted to ask if there was anything else that y'all want to talk about specifically.
Isn't it interesting that, like you were even saying, Bangar might be in the early stages being corrupted by Jormag, which would lead to a Char Norn alliance, which we haven't seen that since a certain someone that was claiming that they were trying to help us create an army. Scarlet.
Oh yeah.
Remember, she was creating these alliances, saying her letter on the back said, "Soon, one day, Kate, you'll realize you needed me."
Yeah, which also Jormag reminded me of Scarlet in a little bit because he essentially said that at the end. He was like, you need me."
I think maybe that's what first triggered it. I'm like, holy crap, they're like Char walking in there. We already have the Norn there. I'm like, this is the exact alliance she made.
Yeah.
It was interesting because she said Jormag said something along the lines of, "I've seen the end," something like that. So it's like,
yeah. Well, yeah, Mithrin, it was Char and Dredge, but like it's still the same thing of alliances being formed. It's more the concept of alliances being formed rather than
weird
like
alliances of groups that wouldn't normally align together, basically.
Right. So, all in all,
our Flaming Frost
story.
Yay!
I give it a thumbs up.
I'm so happy with this story.
Yeah, while it was shorter, I think if they, because once again, people going back to it was too short. If they would have put anything else in there, it would. I don't know what else they could have put in between there.
Right.
That wouldn't feel like it was dragging out. So I enjoyed it.
I feel like they covered everything that they needed to cover, and it'll be interesting to see where we go next, which is great for a first chapter.
Yeah. Age?
It was okay. I think, like I said, it was a setup episode.
Okay, it was great.
So you're more looking for what the payoff is.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things in there that made me curious about all the things that could potentially happen, and all the dialogue. There's like things you can nitpick and things that you can take out
Right.
and extrapolate on, which is really good. There was one thing I think they could have done a little bit better, and I think they could, well, not really better, but I feel like they could have used the bone skinner, because I think like that was one of the caveats of the episode in of itself. So if they had like maybe just like one instance of the bone skinner, it could
It
have
was
been
weird that the bone skinner didn't pop up, but for some weird reason, I thought that, I don't know why it popped in my head, but when we were questioning who buried Almora, for some reason I was like, what if the bone skinner did? Like it was kind of like a hunt respect type thing.
Well, one of the other things is, speaking of the bone skinner, there are random places around the map where you will hear people say, "Hey, help us!" And I walked up to a campfire that had like an icon to interact with it, and the bone skinner literally jumped out of the fire, summoned a bunch of the green enemies.
okay.
You're muted, Arlie.
The anomalies.
No, it was
Fulham or something. What are they called? What's the third faction there?
It's the
begins with an
Spawner,
F, doesn't it?
The Fallen. And
Oh, the Aberrant. Why am I thinking
Aberrant.
F?
It summoned a pile
Fallen-
of aberrant enemies.
Enemies?
A pile of aberrant enemies, and then just kind of jumped away. So I had to
Oh.
deal with that.
Oh, interesting.
So the bone skinner is around.
I know it's around, but I kind of want to be in the story. That's all.
Fair.
Well, I
Well,
think he'll be in some of the future chapters.
probably.
Possibly.
Well, because we've got hooks in that ruined village where all the fallen are, in the aberrant woods. So all of the fallen shamans. And that's the area where the bone skinner event takes place. So
Right.
I feel like there's a...
I guess another cool quick thing is we learned kind of what happened when Bram went up there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was finally.
kinda-
it
we
was
kinda,
nice
like,
to
glossed
hear
over
how
that.
That's true.
happened,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, like that's... Well,
'Cause I
Sorry
was
to like
always kind
get
of
into
worried.
things. I just
Yeah.
it's fine.
No, I was
Yeah.
always wondering, like, what happened. Clearly, you didn't kill him, so like, what happened?
Yeah.
Clearly,
and his
people-
own guildmates betrayed. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
not just him, like the entire guild.
Everybody,
That's...
yeah.
yeah, they basically slaughtered every, I guess, female, because that's all the male Norn went to
I
be
think
with
they
Svanir, which
slaughtered the vigil too.
Yeah, they slaughtered
Well,
everybody.
well, I think all male Norn
Not
that
necessarily.
accepted it went. Well, I think all
Oh,
male
yeah.
Norn that accepted it, because it's preying on the weaknesses of the people. They were betrayed by him, and then, like he said, they let them in willingly,
Yeah.
and they just slaughtered everyone. And I think they did say all the female Norn, because Svanir,
Right.
you know, Svanir be like that.
They're sexist pigs.
Yeah, well.
One other thing that I did think was cool, was before I played the episode, we knew the title was Whispers in the Dark, which just inherently reminded me of the chapter in Hobbit of Riddles in the Dark, because in the dark, and that's the way my brain works, and I love Tolkien. So I thought about it then, and I was like, that's interesting. And then we had the whole section where we're solving, well, not riddles exactly, but answering questions, trying to figure out what the best option is, which all of those were really, like, I don't know about you, but for me, they were really hard choices, because I think what's her name, Jorah's daughter.
Jorah's daughter,
Yeah, Javi said there is no right answer.
which is interesting.
Yeah, it was,
Oh.
it was really interesting for me.
There was an interesting. I don't know if you guys experienced it. I'm sorry, but there was one point where there was a riddle, and then I was like, I opened the dialogue, and I was like, which one am I gonna pick? And it's like it cut me off, and it just
Oh, because the
continued.
first one has a timer, I think. Yeah. You didn't.
I think it was the second one I did.
Oh,
Well,
maybe
like,
they all had
it's-
timers, but yeah.
I didn't
They all
even
had
notice the
timers.
timer. Yeah, I didn't
they all
notice.
had the-
So I'm like, oh wow. So
Yeah.
that was pretty nice.
I saw the timer. I was like, shit.
I like that it's cool. I like that it's cool. It makes you continue despite like. So yeah.
that there's no right answer. So
Right.
which would also mean
It's
there's
just
no wrong
like,
answer.
oh, you value this thing. Interesting. And I'm
It's-
like, screw you.
I think it was more like kind of forcing us to recognize that there are downsides to all decisions.
Right.
Yeah.
And like any decision you have, like it can play out well in one way and bad in another way, which
Sorry, I just switched up.
But I'm pretty sure we could go on and on and on like this forever. But I'm about to eat my own foot, and I need those.
nah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Talking Skritt. I've been your host, Jim. You can find me on Twitter at MouthFoundusMMO. You can find me on this channel live on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Zero to Hero or random gameplay or just stuff. Then we can kick it over to Deo. Where can they find you?
Oh, you can find me at simply_Dea on Twitch and Twitter, and hopefully with the hiatus that's happening, we talked about it last week, I'll hopefully be able to stream a little bit more on my channel and whatnot, and some of the other stuff. But yeah, hopefully see everybody there.
And then we're just gonna go clockwise. Arlie, where can they find you?
I can be found on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram at Arlie82. I stream on my Twitch every Wednesday night. Wow. And then on Thursdays and not Thursday nights and Sunday mornings, I stream on the Twitch channel for MMORPG COM. Thursday nights is WoW. Sunday morning is me picking a random game in my backlog to play through and see how it is. This Sunday I won't be doing it though because I'll be busy giving blood. But other than that, you can find me at those places.
Blood.
Yes.
And Age, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitch and YouTube at Age Night Road. I'm doing a lot of OT recently. Probably next weekend I probably won't be around. But yeah, I streamed the episode today. That should be fun. Maybe I'll try to get some more in this week. I'm trying to get back in the league. I'm trying to get back into streaming in general. So we'll see how that goes, I guess. But holidays are near, so there we go.
Yay.
Yay.
And can I say one more thing about the hiatus and stuff? Just
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I just still want to stress to everybody that this isn't quits, end of story. We do want to do other things, plan for other stuff, but I would say, I guess, in our absence, as always, we try to stress. I don't think we clearly say it enough, but the importance of maybe when people are jumping to conclusions on topics and stuff, try to look towards empathy. Not just sympathy, empathy. Try to look at from their perspective. I mean, and then you get undermined by.
It was great for the outro. I just figured, yeah.
Okay, but no, I think that's an important thing to try to exercise. I know Jim calls it devil's advocate, but I think the biggest thing is it's just empathy. Just try to walk in another person's shoes.
I specifically call you out for your devil's advocate abilities because you argued for some of the sides of things that maybe the community doesn't like, and
I think that's an important way to start.
But honestly, I like to quote Inks: "Be kind, be safe, and enjoy the journey."
I like to quote Blockbuster: "Be kind, rewind." But that doesn't apply here, so I don't know why I would do it here.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, this is more a hiatus of the structured news show. We very well may just start, streaming on Saturdays and just playing the game and talking about stuff in the game, but mostly just because we miss playing the game. So, but ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. For those of you on YouTube, bark. For those of you on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, bell, sacrifice a goat, whatever YouTube wants to feed the algorithm anymore. We'll catch you later. Have a good night, everybody.
Don't you forget about us.
Unless you're a thief, then you're deleted.